Now at 5, an Indianapolis 500 first. No fans at the race. Our day first sits down with two of the key players in this historic decision.
A second staff member with Avon Schools has tested positive for COVID-19. Find out what action parents and teachers want to see the district take.
But there's tens of thousands of Hoosiers right now sort of at risk of losing service should that moratorium be lifted.
COVID-19 is leaving some people struggling to pay their energy bills as we spend more time at home. Why people are hoping the state steps in.
This is RTV6 News at 5, working for you.
Now at 5, no fans at this year's Indianapolis 500. From 50% fan capacity to 25%, and now as of today, no fans at all for this month's pandemic-delayed race. In a year of one of monumental changes, one right after another due to coronavirus, another history-making decision.
And for the first time in history of the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indy 500 will run without fans. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway released a statement around 12:30 that says in part, quote, as dedicated as we were to running the race this year with 25% attendance at our large outdoor facility, even with meaningful and careful precautions implemented by the city and state, the COVID-19 trends in Marion County and Indiana have worsened. Since our June 26th announcement, the number of cases in Marion County has tripled while the positivity rate has doubled. We said from the beginning of the pandemic, we would put the health and safety of our community first. And while hosting spectators at a limited capacity with our robust plan in place was appropriate in late June, it is not the right path forward based on the current environment. And we have team coverage, including the impact of today's news on the town of Speedway and its businesses. But we start with sports director Dave First, who sat down with two of the men instrumental in coming to the decision announced this afternoon. Dave.
Guys, thanks. We're here with Mark Miles, the president of Penske Entertainment, Doug Bowles, president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A decision like this, I can only imagine what goes into something like this. But give us some of the ideas leading up to where finally today we had to decide there's no fans for the 500.
Yeah, well, it's a difficult day for all of us, all the people here who've worked so hard to be in a position to do it if it was appropriate. But nevertheless, we are where we are. Look, we've said from the beginning of this situation that we were going to put the best imaginable plan in place to do everything possible in conducting the race to make it as safe as possible. And I think we did that. We're all proud of that work. But we also said that we were going to work with the city and state health officials to monitor the health situation, the public health metrics, we called it, and hope that things were at a place where it made sense to go forward with fans. Frankly, for a couple weeks, the metrics have not been in a very good place. In Marion County, the number of cases, positive cases, is almost triple what it was when we announced 50% back in late June. Right. And the positivity rate, the number of tests which are positive, is well above where we'd really like to see it. So we've talked daily on a very regular basis with the city and state health experts, and for a couple weeks hoped that the measures that the mayor has put into place, masks and all the other things, would get it turned around and get us to the place where we could go forward. We just ran out of time. The teams are going to be out on that track about a week from now, right. And it's not like you set this up in a day. So we just had to make the decision, and frankly, it's an agonizing decision, I know Doug would say, from the perspective of delivering for our fans and all the work that's gone into this, but it was a pretty easy decision based on the data, and we always said we'd make the decision based on the data.
I mean, Doug, as you all know, you walk around this place, it's a 100-year-old facility that looks anything but like a 100-year-old facility. The renovations that Roger Penske's helped provide, I mean, and you had an opportunity to show this off. It's so disappointing it's not going to be able to happen on the 23rd.
Yeah, and there's nobody more disappointed than Roger. He's been here every week, multiple days, some weeks. In fact, he's been here probably close to a week over the last 10 days, it just in and out, trying to get things ready to open the gates so fans could see all that we've done. And that's a really big disappointing piece for us. Obviously, we're more disappointed that we can't host fans, but even yesterday, up until the end of the day yesterday, we were preparing for having fans here at the Speedway and driving around the property with Roger, looking at the things and continuing to make changes and investments in the racetrack to get ready for fans here. So it's disappointing. I guess the good news is that fans are going to be able to look forward to May of 2021. It gives us a lot more time to get some more things together, and hopefully our fans will be excited about seeing what we've got done when we've had a little over a year to get the place ready.
And fans, I'm sure, asking about refunds or credit for next year. Where do things stand for that?
So the fans have already gotten an email from us at the Speedway today just saying we're sorry that we're in this position, but you're going to get a full credit for your tickets. If somebody had tickets ready for May of this year, we told them already that their seniority, their tickets are going to get those seats that they expected. So they've got that email with the instructions on how to move forward with that. But the good news is they don't really have to do a lot, and they can rest assured that they've got the seats they're used to having next May when we get to have the race here in May.
I mean, bottom line, this comes down to safety, and that's paramount for fans, for the crew guys, media. That's what this is all about. That's what the decision comes down to.
Yeah, we like to believe we're motivated by being good citizens and being a thoughtful, responsible part of this community. Mm-hmm. And so it had to be that, and it was just the public health circumstances around us. But at the end of the day, as difficult as it was when Doug and myself and Allison Langton and Roger Penske got together in the last few days, there just wasn't any time left to hope that things got better, and so the decision almost made itself.
Not an easy decision, for sure. So
this is a difficult decision, but hopefully our fans understand. I've gotten a lot of good feedback already. People looking forward to watching on TV, listening on the radio network, and then next year seeing it here at the Speedway.
I was going to say, I can't speak to how this is going to appear on TV. It might be live on TV on somewhere. I'm not sure how that works. It will be live, though, on the IMS radio network. I know that for a fact.
Well, and the radio network often creates the best picture, right? I mean, and you haven't gotten an opportunity to be part of it. We love the radio network. We're excited it's on live TV as well. So I think there's no excuse for people not being able to celebrate alongside us. I'm sorry they can't be here, but there's certainly ways to consume it when it's live on the 23rd.
Amen. The bottom line is the countdown is definitely on still for the 104th running of the Indianapolis 500, August 23rd.
Thanks, guys. The Indianapolis 500 has a huge economic impact on the state, but especially the town of Speedway and the businesses that call it home. No fans means a big hit to their bottom line. RTV6's Troy Washington continues our team coverage from Speedway.
Shockwaves moved through the town of Speedway today as it was announced that the Indy 500 will go on later this month, but fans won't pack the stands.
Feel for Speedway. Because, oh my gosh, these businesses, which are great businesses, but without the race, I can't imagine what's happening to them financially. They're invested in the race, so it's just a sad time.
Leslie Shue has lived in Speedway for 2 decades. She says her family doesn't make it to the race every year, but they always watch on TV. She can't deny the feeling that this year will be different.
It's not the same without the people in the audience.
But she does understand why the decision is being made after the race was delayed from May.
In today's COVID environment, you have to do what you have to do.
With cases of the coronavirus on the rise in Marion County, Dawson's on Main owner Chris Hill says he understands the logic. It's just he held on to hope that things would be better by now.
Well, we've been here for 15 years, and obviously we look forward to May every year, and this year we were looking forward to August.
Business owners are hoping that fans will still come out to Main Street, even though the race is now fanless.
We'll be here. We'll be open.
I still think we'll be busy because people want to hear the cars and just be around the race.
Despite the changes, these owners think true fans will still show up, even if it means rooting from a distance. Working for you in Speedway, Troy Washington, RTV6.
The town of Speedway put out a statement encouraging people to show support to local businesses who may be impacted by this change. And more details tonight for fans to know. All on-track activity leading up to the race, including practice and qualifications, will be closed to the general public. Fans who still hold tickets for this year's race will be credited for the 2021 500 and retain their seniority and original seats, as you heard in day first's report. The first practice is set for a week from tomorrow, August 12th. It had already been determined the race would be televised live locally. Also, Governor Eric Holcomb released a statement which says, quote, "Throughout this unprecedented process, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway has always prioritized the safety of the fans. I am grateful for Roger Penske's leadership and his entire team for thoughtfully approaching this decision with transparency and collaboration. I want to encourage Hoosiers to continue to social distance, wear masks, and take precautions so we can continue to slow the spread of COVID-19 and hear the roar of the engines at the track next May," end quote.
Now let's get to today's numbers that continue to drive the decisions like the one made today. 836 more Hoosiers have tested positive. Those results reported between Wednesday and yesterday. The statewide total has topped 69,000 cases. The overall positivity rate is 8.8%. And the state reported 14 more Hoosiers have died from COVID-19. Those deaths also occurring between Wednesday and yesterday. That brings the statewide total to 2,794. Avon Community School leaders are working to notify families after a second staff member tested positive for COVID-19. Unlike the first case, this person may have had close contact with some students. RTV6's Megan Sanctorum found out how parents and teachers are now responding.
This is now the second staff member with Avon Schools to test positive for COVID-19. Some parents and teachers say they're wondering how many positive cases there have to be before the school will close its doors.
An employee has a confirmed case of COVID-19.
This is part of the automated phone call parents at Avon High School say they received late last night. A parent shared that call with us today. Unlike Avon's first positive COVID case, this staff member had been inside the high school and had close contact with other employees and some students. According to the call, those impacted have been notified separately and given guidance from the health department on their next steps. District leaders declined an interview today and would not say what type of position this staff member had due to privacy reasons. Some teachers and parents say even with safety measures inside the building, they fear the virus will continue to spread, and they think we could see more positive cases in the days and weeks to come. One parent asked not to be identified, but says it's been a rocky start to the school year.
I think from talking to other parents, we're all a little, we're anxious. It's not a good feeling right now.
One of our major concerns is that we don't know how many people need to test positive before it's too many and we decide to do either a temporary shutdown or a full-fledged shutdown. We just don't know.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, RTV6.
We also reached out to the Hendricks County Health Departments this morning to learn more about their response to this case and how they are working with the school district, but we have not yet heard back.
COVID-19 has exacerbated many problems Hoosiers face each day, and one of those issues being energy bills going up as people spend more time at home. RTV6's Stephanie Wade explains many are unable to pay those bills, fearing what could happen next if the state doesn't step in.
This really shines a light on the fact that folks do struggle to pay their bills even before the pandemic and the financial consequences of the pandemic.
Experts say those who struggled before COVID-19 are likely struggling even more so now, as many have lost jobs because of the pandemic, but the bills haven't stopped coming in, forcing people into their homes for weeks on end. Bills have skyrocketed, cooking more at home, folks working from home, kids e-learning. To help, Governor Holcomb issued an emergency moratorium to halt disconnecting utilities, but that is set to expire August 14th. Kerwin Olson with the consumer advocacy group Citizens Action Coalition says he plans on requesting the governor to extend that moratorium once more, seeing as though people are still being plagued by the coronavirus.
That's the one thing we can do to ensure that Hoosiers are healthy and safe in their homes. We can sort out the other problems with other discussions, but first, let's protect Hoosiers. Let's make sure they have access to these services while they're in their homes, working from home, going to school from home.
Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
We do want to let you know, however, there are groups that can help you with paying your bills. You can call 211 to be connected to some of those. There are also the low-income home energy assistance programs, the Salvation Army, and more.
Still ahead on RTV6, mask up. It may be a new message to most of us, but not families with loved ones with a serious health condition. The message they want you to hear. And Catholics in Indiana get more guidance on the full return to church. The state's bishop weighs in.
For a lot of us, wearing masks, keeping our distance like I am here at home, and frequently sanitizing, well, those are new things that came along with COVID-19. But as Kelsey Anderson reports tonight, it's been a way of life for families with cystic fibrosis, and they want to make sure you know how important those steps are.
Well, I spoke to a mother of two who tells me nearly 12 years ago, both of her children were diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And those recommendations that we're all living under right now, masking up and sanitizing and staying socially distant, those are things they've been living with since their diagnosis.
We're used to social distancing and wearing the masks and, wearing the gloves and hand sanitizing.
Brenda Fox tells me her 17-year-old Lucas and 14-year-old Hannah both live their lives being extra cautious of those around them. They both have cystic fibrosis, a genetic disorder that affects the lungs, pancreas, and other organs. There are about 30,000 people across the country living with CF. And according to the CDC, of the 2,000 that have been tested for COVID-19, only 122 have tested positive, and just 2 people have died.
So you can tell that the CF community is so used to what's going on, in the United States.
Now Fox is asking everyone else to get on board with the mask up mandate, if not to help yourself, but to help others.
I just want people to take it serious because you just never know that somebody could have it and, could give it to a child that has CF or somebody with heart condition or somebody with diabetes. People just have to know that this is our life. Get used to it.
Fox tells me they are living their lives as normal as possible right now. Her son Lucas is back to work and both of her kids do plan on going to school 2 days a week once it's back in session. In Indianapolis, Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
New guidance for Indiana's tens of thousands of Catholics from the state's bishops as we continue to navigate the pandemic. The state's 5 bishops released a joint statement extending the dispensation from the Sunday Mass requirement until November 1st. It was scheduled to end August 15th, but the bishops said due to the rise in cases, it will continue until November 1st unless developments determine otherwise. The Indiana State Police is the target of a lawsuit filed today by the ACLU on behalf of protesters at last month's executions at the federal prison in Terre Haute. The suit said state police kept protesters nearly 2 miles away from the prison and claims those restrictions violated the protesters' First Amendment rights. 3 men were put to death last month in the first federal executions in 17 years. The lawsuit requests the U.S. District Court of Southern Indiana allow protesters to gather immediately outside of the main entrance of the prison. And more executions are set for this month and next. A spokesman for the Indiana State Police said it is their policy to not comment on pending litigation.
It came ashore in the Carolinas this morning as a Category 1 hurricane. Isaias is no longer a hurricane, but is still bringing high winds and flooding all the way up the East Coast. The storm is blamed for at least 4 deaths, 2 in North Carolina and 1 each in New York City and Maryland. One of the impacted areas along the coast is New Jersey. Storm Team 6 meteorologist Todd Clausen is home visiting family in New Jersey and shows us what the storm looked like when it arrived this morning.
And greetings from Cape May, New Jersey, where obviously Tropical Storm Isaias is hitting pretty hard right now. You can see the wind and the surf coming up behind me. The actual center of the storm passing off east to Philadelphia, but obviously feeling the brunt of it here on the Jersey Shore. We get these gust of winds, probably up to about 30 to 40 miles per hour, a little less right now. Just a few minutes ago, I was getting pelted with sand here on the beach. So I think Jersey Shore is probably going to escape the brunt of the storm, but obviously being impacted with the wind, the heavy rainfall, and this high surf. Quick moving storm should get on the Jersey Shore into New England by the time we get to this evening. That's the good news. But continue to kind of hunker down, not expecting too much damage here. No, on the Jersey Shore, just some minor wind damage, most likely. In Cape May, New Jersey, I'm off at RTV6.
Quite the sight to see there, Todd. Thank you. Have you been counted yet? Now there's even less time to take part in the census. What you need to know to make sure you're included. Have you been counted yet? Well, the U.S. Census Bureau will end the door knocking a month earlier than expected on September 30th instead of October 31st. The data collection for the 2020 census is being cut short as legislation that would have extended the deadline stalls in the U.S. Senate. The agency said the knocks at the door to collect data from people who haven't reported or for you to respond to the questionnaire will stop at the end of September. This will allow the agency to meet an end-of-the-year deadline to turn in the numbers. Census workers just started going door-to-door last week after the census was delayed due to the pandemic. You can still self-report online at 2020census.gov.
The college safety plan is out, and masks are a mandate for students, staff, and even the college statue. I'm Rafael Sanchez. That story coming up on the news at 5.